Myself to the stream. All right, let's see if we're live now. We're having some technical difficulties. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hopefully okay. I'm going to get something up here in just a moment. We're about a minute early. That's why we start early, to make sure that all of these things are working, and sometimes they aren't. Okay, let's get this going. Add this to the stream here. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. It looks like we're live. And we're going to talk about advanced customer service techniques. So happy to have you here today. We will get started in just a moment. If you enjoy these types of broadcasts, these types of events, I invite you to click on my profile now and follow me on LinkedIn. It's the easiest, fastest way to get notified about upcoming broadcasts and other content. And it looks like we're gonna have a big group today, so this is going to be fun. Now, before we get started, some of you are attending live. Today is September 15th. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time where I am. I don't know where that means where you are. Maybe the same time, maybe a different time. So if you're live, I'd like you to share your comments, questions, etc. I'll try to get to whatever ones I can. And if you are watching the broadcast recording, that's okay too. I will check in on the recording, respond to your comments, questions, etc. periodically. So either way, we're covered. All right. Well, it is time to get started. So thank you everyone for joining today. And we're going to talk about advanced customer service techniques. This is one of the biggest requests that I get. And there are two types of people that make this request. Now, one type, and I hope this is you, is a type of person who uses the basic skills a lot. But there are certain situations where a more advanced technique might be helpful, and you want to build on your skill set. If that's you, I'm going to share 5 advanced techniques with you today that I think will be very helpful. On the other hand, the second type of person is looking for the cheat code, the easy way out, the magic phrase or thing you can do. And they don't worry about the basics and they don't practice their skills. They just want it to be easy. And if that's you, turn off this video, go back to work. You have to master the basics first. And so today's broadcast is brought to you and sponsored by my own weekly email customer service tip of the week. It's a weekly reminder of basic skills. And by the way, it's an easy way to stay updated on these types of broadcasts. So if you don't already receive it, one email, once a week, one tip, a reminder of the basics, which are so essential. Anyone can sign up for free. toystersolutions.com/tips. And if you sign up or you're signed up already, on Monday, I will send you a link to my next broadcast. We'll talk about how to apologize to customers. And believe it or not, there's both an art and science to customer apologies. And next week, it's going to be Thursday, September 23rd. We're going to break it down for you a little bit. So make sure you sign up if you have not already. I'll take that away, but it's toystersolutions.com/tips. And finally, one last announcement, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I recently got the news that my course, Customer Service Foundations on LinkedIn Learning, was selected or I guess awarded as one of the most popular courses on LinkedIn Learning in the world for 2021, and the #1 most popular customer service course. And I know many of you helped make that happen by taking the course. And so thank you. I really appreciate that. And today's broadcast builds on some of the lessons from this course. Anyone can get this course for free now until at least October 15th. And I dropped a link to this course in the comment section. So after the broadcast, go ahead, take the course for free. And it's a great way to build some of those basic skills. Okay, so look at that. We haven't even started, and you are getting tons and tons of resources. And I get this question a lot. I see someone asking, is this being recorded? The great thing about LinkedIn Live broadcasts is right where you're watching it right now. It's automatically recording it. And if you want to go back and rewatch it later, go to exactly the same place. The live broadcast converts automatically into a recording. All right, let's get started. I've got 5 techniques that I want to share with you today. 5 advanced techniques that I hope will be useful to you. Now, technique number 1 is about customer names. And we know the basic skills is we should call customers by name. Now, the advanced technique is making sure that customers know our name. And here's how I discovered this. I was working with a client and I was analyzing their customer service survey results. And I was looking at the difference between the surveys where the customers were really, really happy and the neutral surveys and the surveys where customers were upset. And one thing really jumped out at me that I thought was a bit strange, but interesting. When in the comments, a customer would mention an employee by name, that was far, far more likely to be a positive survey than a negative one. Now, this was just one client, and I turned to some of my friends at Zendesk, the customer service software provider, and I know they have a lot of data. And I asked my friends, is this a thing? Let me show you what they shared with me. And the answer is yes, it is indeed a thing. When we were looking at survey results from thousands of surveys, we found that if a name was mentioned, that's the blue bar, 92% of those results were a positive or a satisfied customer. No name mentioned, 79%. The flip side was for negative results, dissatisfied customers. If a name was mentioned, a specific employee, just 8% of those were dissatisfied customers. No name mentioned, a much higher percentage. And so what does this tell us about names? Well, if we break it down a little bit, when a customer knows your name, they humanize you. They don't look at you as that person, that girl or that guy or that employee. They look at you as Jeff or Susan or Caitlin or Asif. They look at you as a person. They humanize you. And when we humanize people, we tend to be more forgiving of mistakes. We tend to hold them in higher esteem. We tend to be more open to their ideas. So technique number 1 is to make sure that customers know your name. Now, here's my discussion question for you. If you will, maybe share a comment. How can you ensure that customers know and remember your name? Now, I'll give you the first one, introduce yourself. But sometimes that might not be enough. We often forget names the very first time we hear them. So maybe you have a comment to share. How can you ensure that customers remember your name and know your name? That is the very first technique I will share with you today. Okay, so let's talk about technique number 2. Now, technique number 2, the basic version is focus on your customers. I bet you've heard this one before. What's the advanced technique? Well, the advanced technique is, unfortunately, many of our jobs are designed around distractions. We have colleagues distracting us, multiple customers distracting us. You might have 2 computer monitors on your desk right now with multiple programs and your phone's beeping at you and different notifications, all of which are distractions. And distractions can really destroy customer service. So I want to do a little exercise with you to show you exactly how distractions create a problem. We're going to do a little exercise together. This is called a Stroop test, S-T-R-O-O-P. And even though we can't see each other, I hope you can see this screen. I'm going to ask you to do this exercise along with me. And the very first thing we'll do is when I say go, if you will, read out loud the names of the colors you see on the screen. And then this exercise will get just a little bit more difficult. All right, so are you ready? Let's read out aloud those colors together. Go. Red, blue, orange, green, black, purple. Okay, hopefully pretty straightforward, not too difficult for you. Now we're going to make it slightly more difficult. I'm going to put a new set of colors on the screen. And in this time, instead of black printing, the colors will be printed in various colors. But we're going to do the same thing. As soon as you see the new set of colors come up on the screen, we might be doing this at slightly different times, so I will be quiet this time. What I'd like you to do is say out loud the names of the colors that you see. All right, hopefully you're ready. Here we go. All right, now how did that go? Probably still pretty easy, but I imagine there's a little part of your brain that was saying, hey, there's something wrong here. Green, that's not green. That's purple. What are we doing? But you were still able to do it. Now, let's add a bigger distraction. And I want you to do the exercise, but also get a sense of what's happening here. I will put one more set of colors on the screen. And this time, instead of the word, I want you to say aloud the color that the word is printed in. So the one at the top would be purple. The next one, even though it says purple, it's printed in yellow. So we would say purple, yellow, etc., etc. Let's wait for the next set of colors to come up on the screen. As soon as you see them, say the name of the color that it's printed in out loud. Here we go. Okay, I hope you had fun with that one. I think you may have also noticed a problem on this last one, which was your brain was really trying hard to block out the distraction of the word and say the name of the color that was printed in. And this is what happens when we're trying to simultaneously block out distractions and focus something. We're really dividing our focus, and we tend to work slower, and we tend to make more mistakes. And that's exactly what most people do when they do this Stroop test. So the solution is to identify and eliminate as many distractions as possible. If you work at a desk on a computer to serve customers, shut down as many programs that don't belong. If you're face-to-face with a customer, give them your full and undivided attention, even if that's difficult. And if you are writing to a customer, focus on what you're writing and reading what you are receiving from a customer before trying to do everything else. Now, that's the advanced technique. And here's the problem, and this is why it's so tricky to do this. Our brains naturally like being distracted. We can even get addicted to multitasking. That's why the last time you were in a line anywhere and you were just a little bit bored, you instantly pulled out your phone for no reason other than you were slightly bored. So one thing you can do to practice is the next time you're in line, let's say at the coffee shop or anywhere else, and you feel that itch, that urge to pull out your phone and distract yourself, leave your phone in and just relax and observe what you see. And you often see really, really interesting things. For example, at my local Starbucks, for the people who get in line and don't order via app, once the line gets to about 8 people, I've observed that people go in, see the line, and go right back out and decide not to order a coffee. I wouldn't have seen that if I'd been on my phone. Okay, so that's advanced technique number 2, eliminate distractions. Now, number 3, I think I've shared this on a broadcast before, but it's fun to share again. And so we're going to share it with you again this time. And if you haven't seen it, it'll be new to you. The technique is called the partner technique. And I first discovered this technique, or really thought about it, when I was observing airline gate agents. And if you've traveled at all, you've probably seen this scene where someone's got 4 or 5 carry-on bags and they're huge, and the gate agent says, I think you have too many bags, or those bags are too large, and there's often a confrontation. But the really, really good gate agents, one of the things that they do is they use this partner technique. And I think you can use this in many circumstances. So let me describe the technique, how it works, and then we'll talk about how it can be used in other circumstances. So the basic technique is trying to be helpful, trying to solve the problem for the customer. The advanced technique is partnering with the customer to convince them you're on their side. So here's what the advanced gate agents would do for the airlines. they would come around the counter instead of face to face, which can feel confrontational when emotions are running high. If everybody's happy, face to face is fine. But if emotions are running high, face to face feels a little confrontational. So they would walk around the counter and they would stand next to the passenger. So the gate agent would be here and the passenger would be here. And instead of face to face, they were looking at the problem together on the same side. They were partnering. And then the gate agent would use partner language, such as, let's see how we can get your bags on board. We're working on this together. Now, some of you serve customers face to face. And if you do, the partner technique works really nicely. It's simply shifting your body language to stand more on the customer side and face a problem together. If you are not serving a customer face to face, it's over the phone or via email or chat or some other type of channel. It's a little bit trickier, but you can still use the partner technique. And the focus is using language and listening skills that suggest to the customer you are on their side. Now, this doesn't mean you give them exactly what you want or what they want, I should say. What this means is that you are working with them to find a solution that they are happy with, and you are working as their advocate. And so that is something that you can do. I think that's very easy, even over the phone, via email, etc., is work to convince the customer you are helping them get a good solution. And that often makes customers feel better. Okay, it's funny. I'm reading some of the comments about past exercises, the Stroop test. Some of you are saying the last one got you. It was really distracting. And here's a couple of things. I want to show these. I want to go back to customer names real quickly. And you had some great ideas for making sure that customers know your name. So here's one. Using their name or your name, I should say, at least 3 times, and then providing either your business card at the end of the interaction or even just your contact information. Hey, I'm Jeff. And again, contact me if you need me. So the repetition, I think, is very good. Rupesh had this one. Similar to repetition, frequent interaction. The more you interact with someone, you can remind customers of your name. We had this one at the end, right? At the closure, reiterating your name. So again, these techniques are very good. Anything you can give them, whether it's a follow-up email, a business card, something else that says, my name again is Jeff, or whatever your name is, and remind them. The other thing I think is kind of interesting is taking an interest in their name. And tell me your name again, because now there creates more of a social contract for them to listen to your name. And so there's just a few techniques. Really what we're doing, it's not just about the name. It's making sure that customers humanize you and just don't look at you as a transaction. Okay, let's go on to our, where are we? Our fourth technique that I will share with you today. The basic skill that we all learn in customer service is to listen to the customer's problem and try to solve it. The more advanced skill is to listen for the emotions behind the problem and try to make those feel better. Now, let me talk about why that's important and then how we should do that. The way our brains are wired, when our emotions really get exaggerated, and by exaggerated, I mean we're very angry, we're very happy, anything that is a big spike in emotion of any kind, all of the interactions that we have, all of our senses get filtered through our emotions before they go to the rational part of our brain. And when our emotions are really excited, they tend to cloud our judgment. And we've probably seen that before. We've seen someone who's maybe really angry and really upset about a really small thing. And if you tell the person, hey, I think you should calm down, what do? They get angrier. That's not rational. That's purely emotional. And so when a customer's emotions are running high, if we can address the emotions first, we gain a few advantages. One is, even if we can't give them what they want, they still feel better about you. And if we make the emotions feel a little bit better, then they're more rational. They're more likely to listen to our suggestions for solving the problem and less likely to push back and continue to fight with us. So it's the emotional needs that we should listen for. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was working for a company that sold uniforms. And I was an account manager, which means I took care of my customers, tried to keep them happy, and try to grow sales. And a customer of mine placed an order for a number of jackets that were embroidered with the company logo and also had each person's name on them. And the jackets were to be given out at an awards and a recognition ceremony. So this was a big deal. So I put in the order and I sent it off to the customer. And I made a mistake. I sent the wrong jackets. Now think about this, and I'll invite you to respond with a comment. What problem did the customer have? Now, the rational problem, I think, is obvious. They needed to get the right jackets. But what were the emotional needs that the customer had? What emotions was the customer feeling in that moment when the order arrived and she opened them up and they weren't right? That is what we need to listen for and what we need to address. So I'll invite you to share a comment. Let me share with you what I discovered was the customer's emotional needs. She was worried about the event, and even more, she was worried about the gift she was going to give. This was a big part of the event. It was part of the ceremony, and now it was all wrong. She was worried about being embarrassed, about letting her team down. Her boss had given her the responsibility of coordinating this event. Maybe she would look bad in front of her boss. It wasn't about the jackets. It was about doing right. And I screwed up. Now, here's how I won the customer back. I won the customer back by absolutely accepting responsibility, making sure the customer knew she would not have to pay for those wrong jackets, and making sure that I could assure her the correct jackets would arrive on time for her event. And I did that. And one of the things I did to provide assurance is the day I knew they were going to be delivered, I called her and I asked her, did the jackets arrive? She said, they just did. Let's open them up. Let me know what they look like. And right there on the phone, I could hear her relief. They're right. They're perfect. And in that moment, she went from a very skeptical, upset customer to someone who trusted me to do the right thing. And it wasn't about the jackets. It was about the emotions behind it. And her knowing I was on her side and I was there to help her feel better. So the basic technique is listen to their problem and solve it. The advanced technique, listen to the emotions and address the emotions. If you address the emotions and let the customer know that you are there for them and they can trust you, that is what is going to win you more customers. Okay, so let's go to one more technique that I want to share with you today. And this one, research came out about a year ago on this one, and it made intuitive sense, but I was also glad to see some research and some actual experiments that came behind this. The basic technique is when a customer is upset, we should apologize. And next week, if you join me on the 23rd, we're going to go deeper into apologies and what makes an apology a great apology and a so-so apology, and what's the difference. And if you haven't found my event that I've posted on LinkedIn already, just make sure you subscribe to my customer service tip of the week. I'll put that up one more time here. And on Monday, I will send you a link to that event. I'll also send you one tip once per week via email. And so if you're not already subscribed, that's how to get it. If you are already subscribed, nothing to do. I will post that next week. You can also see my events by following me on LinkedIn if you don't already. So lots of ways to stay informed. But that's the basic skill, the apology. And next week, again, we'll go into the advanced version of the apology. But I've got a different twist for you that I think might be interesting. And that is, an apology is necessary when we do something really bad, like send the wrong jackets. Go ahead and apologize where you really screw up. But sometimes the situation is minor. Customers waiting for a minute or two, not really a big deal. All that's hurt is their pride. And I want you to think about why we apologize for minor things. It's really about those emotions again that we just talked about. What's hurt is their pride. And research has shown a better way than an apology to restore pride after a minor incident is thank you. So here's the example. This actually happens at my post office. We know, or at least most of us know in the US, if you go to the post office and you need to go to the counter, be prepared to wait. And there's always a wait. I think it's very rare that I go right up to the counter. But they do something at the post office that I think is actually pretty smart. When I get to the counter, they don't say, I'm sorry for the wait. They say, thank you for waiting. How can I help you today? That little thank you, research has shown, has done a better job of restoring customers' self-esteem when it's a minor incident. Now, these have to be minor things, a small delay, a small mistake, not a huge impact on customers at all. And in that situation, a thank you becomes more powerful than an apology. Big mistakes, we're still going with an apology. But small things, thank you does a better job at restoring self-esteem. So, and I see on the comments, you're cracking me up. Some of you are having fun with this and putting thank yous in the comments. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So that's our 5 tips today. And if you have questions, we have maybe just a moment or two, and I'm happy to answer them. If you're watching the recording, that's okay. Share a question about advanced customer service techniques, and I will check in periodically. But our 5 tips today: get customers to know your name, stop multitasking and focus on your customers, partner with angry or upset customers so they know you're their advocate, tend to those emotional needs versus the rational ones. Emotions come first. And finally, small issues, a thank you is more powerful than an apology. All right, so I might be able to answer a question or two. It looks like an organization is sharing this. Can the partner technique also be used in a high emotion conflict? That's exactly when it should be used. When emotions are high and there's a conflict or the potential for conflict, showing the other person that you are their advocate and working with them is how the partner technique works. So unless I'm misunderstanding your question, it is exactly the same thing. And that would work very, very nicely. By showing them you're literally on their side, they tend to feel even better. And this actually works well, even if you can't give them exactly what they want. When they see that you're working for them as their advocate and trying different scenarios, maybe trying different options, customers tend to feel a lot better than if it's just a face-to-face confrontation. All right, Valentina has this question: how do you differentiate a big mistake from a small issue? And the real way to do this is, what's the impact on the customer? So for example, a short wait, there's no real impact on a customer. Their pride is hurt. Maybe they're slightly delayed, but there's no real tangible impact. A big mistake would be something that has a tangible impact. I charged you the wrong price and you've spent money you shouldn't have. The item you ordered arrived broken. That's a mistake. And that deserves an apology. So if there's a tangible impact on the customer, I still go with apology. If it's a small one, I think thank you works better. And that's where there's just no impact. It's a pride thing. And we can fix it quite easily. Great question. All right. I don't want to run out of time. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you gained something useful. And maybe I'll see you next week on the 23rd, where we go real deep into the art and science of great apologies. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.